Welcome back for week 2 of Niche Club Director content. We're getting ready at Beta Bay to head to the Brickyard Battle in Indianapolis. It's our first travel tournament of the year, and it's one of about 6 events that we will actually travel to, meaning we're booking flights, hotels, and all those good things that come along with travel. And here are the things that we do and the timelines that we do them in to prepare for these travel events. First and foremost, we are going to register for the events. Boys volleyball tournaments in the past typically didn't sell out. You were always able to kind of get into the space of an event that you wanted to. There was always enough room for you to be able to get there. No longer. SoCal Cup events constantly sell out, so much so that they actually will send you to other venues sometimes because they will oversell the convention center. And so you want to be on top of registering for these events, making sure that you don't have any of those scary pending moments where, hey, some of your teams got in, but some of your teams did not. So the things that we do each season as we prepare is we're going to go look at all the events of our travel calendar, and we are actually going to add all of the registration dates into our calendar, making sure that we as a staff are hitting that date in terms of registration. We're getting all of our teams in right away. Usually those events are going to be a online registration. You can usually skip the roster portion, specifically because most registration opens before you have all of your team memberships completed. So you can get in, register without that roster, and then they will actually accept you most of the time once you have paid. So say you register before your tryouts have taken place, you get your teams added in there so they're pending, and then once you actually finalize how many teams you have formed during your tryouts, you can then send your payment in for the event to make sure you are accepted and good. Once you've done that, now you can actually start to plan for the travel arrangements of these events and making sure that you are having enough lead time that you're getting a good price and a discounted price rather than paying the premium of trying to make these arrangements, a month in advance. So we're going to move into the hotel portion of the event space because this is usually going to be the most competitive because it's all of the clubs that are competing at this tournament vying for those same hotel rooms if there's a travel event that's taking place. So we'd like to try and be early on this. Most tournaments nowadays have some form of a travel partner, a housing partner, and they will actually go in and they reserve huge swaths of rooms near the convention center. Now, this is a blessing and a curse because you're going to be very much at the mercy of their housing partner when it comes to getting a hotel space that's nearby the convention center. AAU National Championships, for example, if you want to get a hotel space or a bigger block of hotel rooms for AAU Nationals, you pretty much have to go through their housing service, even though they say it's not state of play. You can still book outside of it. There's no requirement, but if you want that block space, like for a big club like ours with 20 plus teams, we want to make sure we have those rooms taken care of for our families, and so you need to go through them in order to do so. So that changes the dynamic a little bit. If you're going to a tournament that doesn't have a housing service, like typically SoCal Cup hadn't had a housing service, and now they are starting to do this, you're able to go in and you can contract rooms directly with hotels, and that process usually takes place about 6 months in advance, reaching out, forming blocks, and being able to maneuver from there. Now that SoCal Cup has started to do housing blocks as well, their housing company eats up the majority of the space. And so because we're a larger club, we go through that block because they have the inventory that we need. So if you're a smaller club, maybe you're 4 to 10 teams, you can probably find some wiggle room at some other more boutique hotels or different options around the convention center that isn't booked up by the tournament itself. Or you can also just go directly through the tournament. Now, obviously, the tournament will get a kickback on any of the rooms that you book through their housing partner. But typically speaking, their rates are pretty reasonable and help control the price of hotel rooms throughout the course of the city during those event days. So once you've got your strategy put together for how you're going to do housing, if you're going through the housing service or if you're going through individual blocks that you're forming with those hotels directly, you're going to get that put together pretty much between 4 to 6 months in advance. Or just whenever the housing service actually does this for the event. From that information, once you know which space you've got your inventory blocked off for your hotel rooms, for your parents and staff, you can then send that link out. Usually you're going to get some form of a passkey link or booking link from Team Travel Source or EventPipe, one of the other software programs that lets you book housing blocks at these events. And you're going to send that link out directly to the parents. What you want to do is you want to make sure that you've got your coaches' rooms taken care of first and foremost. Most clubs are going to be taking care of the travel arrangement for the coaching staff. So before you send out that main link to the whole club with all of the information, you're going to want to make sure that you've pulled your coaches' rooms out first so that those don't get booked and you know your staff is going to be taken care of. You can then wait to actually put in a housing list. What we do is we typically do a master bill. So we will take care of the room and tax of all of the coaches' rooms. We'll send them in a rooming list and a credit card authorization form, which we'll talk about in a bit, leading into the actual event days. It's usually about 2 weeks out from the event, just making sure you've got the details confirmed with the hotel so that coaches can check in on their own, and all they need to do is put down a credit card authorization, or sorry, a credit card at check-in to ensure that they cover any incidentals. The club on the master account will take care of the room and tax, so that that removes that burden from them, and then it also removes the burden of you having to do reimbursements or things like that after the fact, after the event has actually taken place. So a lot less tracking that needs to be done there if you can do the legwork up front. Then we go into our flights. So flight options are always very interesting. When you think about flights for an event, you're always trying to get the best price you can, and you're always trying to get, in our case, we're always trying to get our coaching staff as consolidated as possible. So if we can all be on one flight or 2 flights, that is best case scenario. I know, like, from a government standpoint, they never want like an entire company on one plane. God forbid, right? But let's be real, like the odds are very, very slim. So we always try and get our coaches on the same flight. It's more fun that way. Coaches are all together, right? Flight goes by way faster because everyone's having fun and enjoying themselves. And then the logistics are just much easier because you all land at the same time. You're all grabbing Ubers or grabbing whatever transportation back to the hotel together. And so usually it makes it for easier economies of scale rather than individual people coming all across the country on different times and different flights. So the way we set it up is we try and book our coaches' flights about 4 to 5 months in advance of each event, and we book through Southwest. Now that's whenever possible. We typically don't use the group travel, which we have done with Southwest, which we've done with Alaska. We've pretty much done group travel with every single flight. You're going to get a little bit of a discounted rate, but knowing just how things have transpired for the majority of our coaching staff who have full-time jobs, this is not their full-time gig. They need to be able to work around their work schedule, their life schedules. So having the ability for them to change is really important. So what we do is we book through Southwest, and we book it just as retail flights. So we pay a little bit of a premium. It's usually going to be about $30 more expensive than doing group travel. But what this allows is each coach then gets a confirmation number on their flight. So say the big coach's flight that is a direct flight and it leaves at 12 p.m. is too early for them, and they're trying to not take a vacation day, and they need to leave after 5. So what they're going to do is they can just take their confirmation code and they can call, give that code, give their name, and give them the new flight that they want to be switched onto, and that will adjust them individually onto a flight that makes sense for them. Also, they have the credit for the flight because of what we've already purchased for them. So if there is a difference or balance, what we tell our coaches is, hey, if you can't make this club sponsored flight, you want to adjust it, you'll need to pay for any little difference of the fare that's going to be there. Or if there's a cheaper fare, which oftentimes there is, they actually get a credit into their account with the amount difference. So if it's a $200 flight and they switch onto a $180 flight that's later on, they get that $20 credit and they get to hold on to that. So Southwest just allows us the most flexibility in terms of coaches being able to switch between flights that make sense for them. And it also gives us those 2 free check bags, which when you're bringing a lot of these and a lot of carts, those are free and no longer have to be paid for. So just another cost-saving measure and flexibility thing that we like when utilizing Southwest for our travel. Now, once we've booked these things, once we've put in the flights, once we've put in the housing list, what we do is we're going to go onto our club coaches sign up and information sheet. And this is something we talk about a lot, or I talk a lot in terms of our coaching staff. But this is the kind of the sheet that we utilize to organize all of our coaches around one specific spot. On the first tab, we've got our sign up. So any additional sessions the coaches want to attend and get paid for, they can sign up here. You got beach practice, small group sessions, pin hitters, middles of barrel, so on and so forth. Then we also have our payroll. This is where things get calculated for anything that's extra. So those sessions get calculated by us and we add that into the payroll, which we've talked about on a previous video. And then you get into the actual flights. Now I've hidden the information behind some of these columns on their birthdays, their known travel numbers, and their rewards accounts. So if they have a Southwest Rewards, we can add that on their forms for making sure they're getting points and it shows up in their actual online account. But we keep all the information here for them to see. So majority of our coaches, right, you can go in, you'll see your confirmation number as well. So if you do want to make a change, you just grab that confirmation number and you can just give a call to Southwest to make a change. But we also have all the info on when the flight is, what they're leaving out of. So our San Francisco coaches, right, will leave out of SFO. Our San Jose coaches out of San Jose. We've got some Oakland coaches who go to Oakland. We kind of coordinate around that for them as much as we possibly can. Then when we maneuver over, we're also giving them that info on the return flight so that they know when they're coming back and they can plan accordingly also with who they're going to the airport with. Some coaches, right, they want a carpool, and so they know they're with, their assistant coach, and they might, just take one car to the airport. This just allows them to see all the information in one spot. Likewise, we've got our hotels here. I've removed the names, so you can't see that, but we put our names for each coach on who's rooming where, what type of room it is in, and then we've got our names and credit card authorization form checkbox here, and basically we check this off once we have reached out to the hotel property, confirmed our credit card authorization so that everything's on a master bill, and we've confirmed the rooming list. This then ensures that the coaches can check themselves in when they get to the property. That is a big deal for us because we want to make sure that we don't have to sit down at the lobby and check each of them in under our name in order to get them access to their rooms. On the same vein of the actual travel to and from the airport, what we do is we utilize Uber for Business, which is a cool little option that we give to our coaches. So rather than booking like vans or buses or kind of more legwork involved type of transportation arrangements, we use Uber vouchers so that each coach can just get a voucher, just click the button and it automatically adds it into their Uber account, and they can call cars on their own. So this is what it looks like inside of Uber for Business with the vouchers. What we can do is we'll just go in and create a voucher with you guys right here. So you can kind of see the way this works and why this works well is because you can actually set geo fences on where they can be picked up at and where they can be dropped off at. So you know that it's only going to be rides to and from the airport rather than them using the voucher to go all over the place. So we'll just go ahead and say example tournament here. We've got 50 coaches, so we're going to put 50 vouchers on. Now the type of voucher you can put, if you want to, you can do Uber for rides and Uber Eats. So if you want to put food credits on there, you can certainly do that as well. We send per diem for our coaches ahead of time in their paycheck. So we're just going to switch this just to rides, and we're going to do fully covered rides. So we will pay for the full extent of the trip. You can also do it for credit. So if you want to say like, hey, we know that generally speaking, the Uber ride is going to be $50 from the airport and $50 back. So you can put $100 on there. You can do it that way. We just do a fully covered ride to make sure we just don't want to have to do those little reimbursements at the end. So we just make sure it's all taken care of. You might get a little bit more expensive there, but it is worth it in my eyes in terms of the amount of time. So what we will do is just do the rides. We'll switch it to 2 rides per voucher so they can have a from the airport and back. You can also set the timeline. So let's say we're leaving for the tournament this weekend on Friday, and we are returning back on the Monday. So we'll set this to be a 12 a.m. to 12 a.m. So we're handling all of the days. And then this is where it gets very, very interesting, is you can actually put specific locations. So we'll put the Indianapolis airport, and we can shrink this area control down. So we're just going to make it about a 1 mile radius, or excuse me, 2.75 covers all of the airports. So we're making sure that's all inside of the little circle there, and then allowing pickups and drop-offs here. And then we're going to add another location. So let's just say I'm not going to put our exact hotel, but let's say there's a Marriott Indianapolis, because I'm sure there's something. Great, Marriott Indianapolis North. We'll just say that that's it. And we're going to shrink this radius down so that it's directly on top of the property there at 0.25s. Same thing, allowing pickups and allowing drop-offs. This then gives us the exact specifications that we know. We're just handling those airport transports. Coaches want to go do something. They want to go to a bar after practice or after the tournament, and they want to hang out downtown, whatever it may be. That's great. Encourage that, but they'll pay for that Uber all on their own. Our voucher will not cover that ride for them. You can add in a memo. Let's just say that this is Indy travel, so that everything gets categorized. We'll click next, and then from here you can add recipients by directly texting them the number, or you can actually just click this get link button, and what we do is a general link. This is a single link. When anyone clicks on it, it's going to give them access to the voucher to claim it and add it into their account. So you want to make sure you're sending this out specifically only into like your team coaches group chat, or however you communicate directly with the coaches in an email. You can put that link down. The individual links requires you to kind of go in and add every single individual, which you can do if you wanted to upload your coach roster, and you can return to that. But we like to keep it just simple as possible. General link, send it out directly to the coaches. I can go in and track it, so I'll see the names that used it. So hey, if a coach was a silly goose and shared this code with someone outside of the club, that name is going to appear, and I'm going to be able to see who that is, and we will be able to deal with that accordingly. Last but not least, we've got our tournament rosters. Now, obviously, this is an aspect for every event that you need to take care of. Once you've done it once, you've pretty much done all the legwork. So we have a sheet that we have with every player's name, their jersey number, all that information, and we have our admin assistant go in. Once we have actually created the memberships for all of our athletes on AAU, they can then pull that info in with a data pull from the AAU website to AES or SportWrench, and then they can go in and form the teams. Once we form the teams, we've got the rosters on AES. What we do is we're actually going to create that PDF that you're going to see right behind the screen over here. What we're looking for with this is we're going to share that PDF with the coaching staff. So we're going to send this, we're going to upload it into our Google Sheets, and then we're going to send out a message to coaches, hey, rosters for Brickyard Battle have been uploaded. Please take a look, cross-reference it, make sure that the jersey numbers are good, make sure that the coaches are all on there, make sure we didn't miss anything. We have our database. Obviously, it's pretty good, right? We get most things right. But sometimes a kid loses a jersey, they ordered a new one, and maybe we forgot to make that update to the roster. So making sure we're catching any of those little things. So you're just avoiding those issues the morning of a tournament where like, oh, crap, it's 8 a.m. match, referee checks the roster, this guy is not on, there's no number 25 because he used to be number 35, and all of a sudden he lost his jersey and needed to replace it. So then you have to run to the tournament desk, switch the jersey, maybe they make you pay $25, right? You just avoid those by having an extra set of eyes actually look over the roster. Again, that is all held directly here inside of the Google Sheet for our coaching staff. They have all the information that they need for these travel events, from getting to and from the airport, getting their flight information, getting their hotel information, and then of course we send them their per diem in their paychecks. Usually this is going to be the paycheck that leads into the tournament. So if we play on the 20th of the month, we'll send them the paycheck on their 15th. So we do paychecks on the 15th and the 30th. They get the paycheck with the reimbursement for their coaches per diem on that 15th paycheck, so that they have it ahead of the event, ahead of the tournament. So making sure that they're prepared with that and all set with their travel information. Again, we try and make it as simple as possible for coaches to be able to adjust on their own, so that we don't need to go through and do all of the details for them anytime they need to make a change. So if there ever is an issue, they can usually handle most things on their own, right? That specifically is going to happen with the flights for their hotels. They're always going to be pretty much paired with their assistant coach, so there's never really any conflicts there. Sometimes there's little adjustments that we'll make if, obviously if we've got a married couple that is coaching two different teams, we'll make adjustments on that. So that information is all living on this sheet for them, so it makes it as simple as possible. And then also us doing the legwork up front makes it simpler for us on the back end of not having to do so many individual reservations, individual adjustments for them. Everything kind of lives under one spot, and we minimize the amount of reimbursements we need to do and tracking of expenses after the fact at the event. They get their per diem, they get the hotel paid for by us on a master account, they get their flight taken care of by us. If they need to make changes, they pay for any adjustments or any switches that they would like to make. So hope you found this helpful. Obviously, preparing for these travel tournaments is a big portion of a club director's job. So having some processes in place and some timelines in place and being able to work back from your event and looking into what you need to be doing leading into it can be a helpful thing in order to get a little bit more efficient and a little bit simpler actual work process for this type of thing. So hope you enjoyed. Like and subscribe if you think this is helpful, and we'll see you out at the next tournament.